Hello and welcome to Dungeons and Dragons: A Darkened Wish, Season 3, Episode 1, Skilled Hands of the Cities. Let's meet our heroes. And I will go with the order in which you all are on my screen, which may or may not be the order in which you are on the Twitch overlay. So we will start with our illustrious twins, Aki.
Hello, everyone. I'm Aki, and I play Karen and Karin.
Mr. Alquin Gersh.
Hey, I'm Alquin, and I'm playing Rayonde.
D'Artagnan.
Hello, I am D'Artagnan Mataliano, and I am playing Duke Xander.
And last but absolutely not least, Sam.
Hey, I'm Sam DeLove, and I'm playing Aiden.
Normally, at the top of these things, I have my whole long speech about with our sponsors and the people that make this show possible. And thank you to all of them. Thank you to Q Times. Yes, donate to Games for Love if you can. But at the start of this episode, I would like to say something slightly different this time. This is the culmination of a dream that came about, I guess 2 years ago now. Almost 3, actually 2 years almost exactly, I suppose. Maybe 3 years if I start thinking about it, actually.
Dave, madness is that way. Don't go that way.
Time is a flat circle. I reject linear time and all the other lies of the before times. When Tess Fowler and I set out to tell a story about a plucky band of misfits and the absolute fantasy meat grinder these poor children were going to get dropped into. And that is how Dungeons and Dragons: A Darkened Wish was born. And the idea always was, after the cliffhanger ending of the comic, which if you haven't read, you absolutely should, would be resolved either in the form of another graphic novel or at some point when we got to this stream, which was always intended to be a tie-in, we would tell the ultimate fate of our heroes. That time is now upon us. And with that, I tell you, Season 3 will be the last season of Dungeons & Dragons: A Darkened Wish. It will not be the last time you see these beautiful performers rolling the shiny chance rocks, but it will be the end of our story. Along with that, you all know me. By no means are any of their endings guaranteed to be happy. They are merely guaranteed to be final. So thank you all for playing. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to Tess for making this possible. Thank you to Q Times. Thank you to Wizards of the Coast. Thank you to everyone. And with that being said, now on with our story. On a beautiful. I hope we can fix that in post, but if not, leave it in because I want you all to know exactly who I am.
A beauty.
Beautiful. On a beautiful, sunny day in the Moonshae Isles, the wind is blowing through softly and sweetly. The distant cry of seagulls can be heard on the waves. The gentle, rhythmic slosh of the waves along the beach. Of a terrible place with a terrible reputation, which you wouldn't know to look at it. Scotterock Isle. An island laying with a long, dormant volcano, although some say that smoke that arises from the top of it on occasion is not a volcano at all, but simply the great worm Hundar, still sleeping inside. We leave it up to you whether or not that is true, but at least in recent memory for most, there was a time that the Red Rage awoke and rained terror down on Mintarn, expressly for the slight of having forgotten about him. So perhaps you would be wise to keep his name at least somewhere in the back of your mind. we find a lone figure walking along this beach of white sand, small little songbirds flitting from tree to tree, enjoying the fruit before the desolate mountain rises up in the distance and takes away all the usable soil from these ocean-going creatures and other visitors to the island. But we have one visitor that is the most unusual of all. What does he look like?
See, you got it right the first time, B-Dave. A beauty. Aiden is tall and lean, but a little bit of a cut to him, dressed in very fine clothes of a successful merchant, of legitimate business, admiring the nature on his walk. Still very pale, a touch dark, but there's a whole lot that gold can buy, it turns out.
As you're walking along the shore of this, perhaps not forbidden, but definitely forsaken island, is there anything in particular that has brought Aiden out here today?
No. Dolce far niente. What else but a little leisure, a little luxury? Beautiful trees, beautiful sands. Songbirds, did you hear?
And your recent acquisitions have been bountiful. Your new partner that you signed with, although his references are dubious, his results are impeccable. And in a few short years, you have increased your holdings many times over, Aiden. And you have quickly become a man whose name is spoken with equal parts respect and fear. Because the old you, the you that climbed that ladder, and the method by which you did it is not completely lost on the lords and ladies who now open you into polite society across the Moonshay Isles.
It does them good. They can't get ahead of themselves, or they'd lose their heads.
In some cases, literally. As you are walking along the shore here, taking in this wondrous day, you hear an odd whisper, Aiden, like something calling you off in the distance. Aiden.
Is there someone out there playing a prank?
No reply.
I'll walk up the sands a bit. Take a look around.
Give me, Aiden, let's see. Give me a perception check. Actually, not even perception. Give me insight.
14.
There is a familiarity with this voice, scratching just at the back of your mind. You remember it from when you were younger, but it has not occurred to you in many years. And yet now it is carried on the breeze, your ear.
Are you back?
never been far from you.
Oh. Pleasure to reacquaint. Why now?
Now, give me perception, Aiden, which is more of a strength.
27.
Up ahead, in the shadow of a palm tree bursting with bounty, heavy with coconuts, and surrounded by nearby fruit trees, which again always tend to fall and waste and rot on the shores of this island. Trees that would feed a small town if anyone had but the bravery and courage to come here and harvest it as you do, Aiden. You make out what looks like in the shadows and rocks and swaying palm fronds in the breeze, what just barely looks like the outline of a robed person. Is it someone sitting on the rock? Is it the rock? Are your eyes playing tricks on you? And yet, it's there.
I'll move up. Why not?
How should I address you now? Are you a lord? Are you a king?
Maybe someday, but I work for a living, so to speak.
I have never had the cleverness with words that you have, but there is a certain poetic irony of the idea of killing for a living.
It means at the end of the day, one of us is.
This form stands up, coalescing more into someone you know, someone who you've caught out the corner of your eye countless times, woke up and felt like you saw departing the room, who sat in the corner on the other side of a dark tavern. Someone who you felt was never far away in the midst of stormy seas that tossed your vessel to and fro, and times that you thought maybe, just maybe, this one time you miscalculated. Maybe this one bugbear's coin purse was a bit too much to risk. Has always been there, just in the shadows. And for the first time in your life that you can remember, he takes the hood and he pushes it back. Harut has bronze skin, almost inhumanly so, with black runes that glint with the faintest hint of silver in his forehead and down his face. His eyes are hard with lines that while they are not lines from age, it would be a mistake to call them laugh lines. It is from a face that has spent many years in careful contemplation and observation. My boy, embrace me. And he does hold his hands out towards you.
Absolutely.
And do you embrace him?
I do.
You come and you do feel arms wrap around you. A warrior's embrace, the embrace that you've given many a friend after a large score or before having split your winnings in scattering into all the directions of the compass. And he lets go and he says, you neither reached for your dagger or for my coin purse. I don't know if I am flattered or offended, Aiden.
Mm. The first respect. The first one's free.
I have come to you because you stand at a crossroads. I have watched over you your entire life. I have seen everything you have done. I have seen what you have become, and I must tell you, I approve. And when he says that, his eyes flash and the runes light up slightly. But you are about to be presented with a choice that will alter the fate not just of yourself, but of all these lands. And he motions off vaguely in the distance of the Moonshay Isles, which you can see in this archipelago. Norland, Gwyneth, all sparkling off in the distance.
Well, I did always like to think myself a man at the fulcrum of the world. If there's a job to be done, it's only appropriate I should take it on.
What if I told you that you yourself were chosen by the gods, or at the very least, chosen to flip the coin that will dictate fate?
Then I would tell you that the gods have proven themselves beings of the most excellent taste.
He sort of idly smooths your lapels down and straightens your shirt a bit that was crinkled during the embrace. And you see he is looking at you with not love, but a guildmaster's approval of a member who has truly come into their own, presenting themselves. And he nods in acceptance. Before you stands a choice. Continue on this path, and you will step into destiny, and you will step into eternity. But I tell you this, you will be lost. Perhaps a greater you will emerge, perhaps a lesser one. But the narrative as you have written it up until now will come to an end. Or turn back, follow your own footsteps back down the beach, row back out to your magnificent yacht and be on your way and continue this path to its own inevitable finality.
What's that way then? What is it that I choose?
He starts backing away from you, back into the shadows, and he says, I can only promise you one thing, Aiden. I have always watched over you, and I always will. And he's gone.
Should go on. I'm nothing to be afraid of, nothing I can't handle. Nothing I can't handle. I don't run back like some coward.
And with the slightest of paces, the shore, the mountain, the shore, the mountain, you continue walking along with all of the wariness that your incredibly honed perception can allow. You detect no ambushes, the rumbles of no dragons, the ships of no rivals, the daggers of no assassins. Perhaps the Deva is testing you. Perhaps Harut was simply mistaken of the stakes. Until you notice something glinting in the sand high up on the side of the mountain.
Well, if this is truly some mission of the gods that I have been personally chosen for, sending me after a sparkly only makes sense.
Do you approach it?
Absolutely.
As you get closer, the sunlight dancing and scintillating off of it, you, being a man in your line of work, recognize from 15 paces out that it is gold. It's a piece of jewelry of some sort, partially buried in the sand.
Huh. All right. What is the little thing? Pick it up.
When you pick it up, it is circular. It is a symbol that does not immediately mean anything to you. It's got tassels that hang off of the bottom, many of them broken and lost. It actually looks like it perhaps has been burned or subjected to the elements somehow. And as you study it, a wave of awareness washes over you, Aiden. An electric jolt goes completely through you, through your very soul. The light comes erupting out of your eyes, and a bright symbol erupts onto your forehead as you throw your head back to the heavens and you see it. A wash of images. You see elves, beautiful brown skin, glowing mohawks. They're spectacular. They are shooting lightning and calling down the powers of the gods. And they turn and they look at you, and you see nothing but love in their eyes. And you see a man scarred across his face, fighting gloriously against an overwhelming wall of oncoming horrors of orcs and gnolls and bugbears and men. But he stands there slashing through them, yelling for you, Aiden, go, it's time. You see a red dragonborn looking at you. And you look down and you thought you'd buried your knife in his heart, but he caught it. And he looks at you and flames erupt, and there's fire and death. And out of that twisting flames, you see a massive, tangled mass of glorious red hair of a young woman floating in nothing, burned and broken and bruised, but at peace for a split second before black chains wrap around her and yank her down, and you hear a chorus erupting in your ears. It is both deafening and yet completely silent. It is everywhere, and it is right next to you. And you hear, unite them all, find her, be whole. And you're back, standing there holding this piece of jewelry.
Helene.
A name that feels so familiar on your lips. Although you search your mind, you don't know such a person. And yet, when you say it out loud, it is like your dearest friend, your oldest comrade, your sister in the truest sense is known to you and yet somehow forgotten.
I have to find them. They have to know.
The moment you say that, a warm breeze blows across the island, and every single one of those songbirds alights into the sky and circles around you and scatter in all directions.
I have to make my way down the mountain. I have to get back to, yes, to my yacht, and we have to set sail.
Do you have a crew on this yacht? It's a glorious thing. It's Neverwinter's finest, of course. What does it look like?
Mm. It is a 4-mast tall ship, embroidered sails. It was an expense, but it was worth it in the end. At the masthead, of course, is an angel, a little motif of mine. And yes, there is a crew. They are delightfully obliging and even more delightfully discreet.
As you row back, the rope ladder comes down for you to come up, and the hooks come down to secure your rowboat to pull it up. And they look over the side, make eye contact with you, and they simply nod. And a moment later, a beautiful elven woman that you all refer to simply as Bronze makes her way over towards you, looking both ways, and she's like, "Captain, if I didn't know any better, it's like you've seen a ghost."
You can fight a ghost. But no, I have much more than a ghost. I have a mission. We're going to set sail. I'm going to visit a boyhood friend.
Where to then, sir?
Is it Summersdale, I suppose?
Summersdale. Ooh la la. I suppose it is time that we make an appearance for House Kendrick. Surely, sir, you don't mean to try and nick the crown jewels from the king himself, do you?
Well, I would certainly never cop to the audacity of such a thing in public. But no, not for that. Besides, I think you just about proved yourself. I can take you out in polite society. You can show your face or not and show your craft instead.
Summersdale it is, Captain, and I will make my way into something more presentable.
There you go.
And you see she turns around without lifting her voice at all, just says, "Summersdale," and they all start moving. The sails go up, the rigs come down. They are the small but highly efficient crew that you have very carefully cultivated over time. The winds, strangely, dare I say, unseasonably favorable, blowing your boat to the south. There is one last question I have for you, Aiden. What is your boat's name?
The Wish.
Because of course it is. And as the Wish glides silently through the waves towards the island of Norland, we jump across to that very place, to Summersdal in Norland. Norland, the traditional stronghold of House Kendrick, the seat of nominally still King Kendrick over all of these Moonshae Isles. There was a time that a single family ruled them all with an iron fist. Those times are long past, although most people have the common decency not to mention it within earshot of the royal family. And we find ourselves here in the lands of whom? Duke.
Oh, hello. Uh, is Aiden here already?
He has not arrived. We are finding where Xander is.
Right. My internet just lagged out, so I don't know what you just said to me.
Hang on, I'll give you the whole thing over again.
All right.
I'll maybe turn the gain down on your mic slightly. Like I don't know, Jake, is he okay to you?
No, I hear it too.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Is that better?
In the middle of what you just did. So I don't know, like 50% more than what you just did. It is better, but then now you're almost too quiet.
Is this better?
Perfect. There, that.
All right.
Yeah.
Guys.
No, you're good. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to give you that whole thing over again. Okay. And as the Wish sets sail far across the Moonshae Isles on the Isle of Norland, in the area of Summersdal, who do we find there?
You find Xander, who is now the Duke of Summersdal. He kind of runs the whole region and keeps the giants at bay, and is kind of really caught up with that and the local tribes that are continually fighting all the time. The folk, I think they're called, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What does Xander look like?
Oh, well, he's in his early 40s, so like a silver fox for sure. Has elegant royal vestments, but he does always keep his adamantium chainmail on to make sure, any suspicious activities might be coming around. He has a very elaborate belt that kind of wraps around him and seems to be surged with power. Other than that, I mean, he's not too bad to look at. That's for sure. He definitely has a lot of scars from his many conquests and adventures.
As you are standing there looking out over the coast, you hear a familiar and a warm nose kind of bumps up under your hand.
Oh, is this my pupper?
It is Karam, your blink dog, your most faithful friend and companion across many years in many battlefields. Most people don't know how to domesticate blink dogs. This one was a gift, a peace offering from some elven dignitaries somewhere back along the way. And at first, everybody was afraid of the beast and, of course, could not keep it contained because as a blink dog, fences are meaningless to it. And it wasn't until it finally made its way to you that you were able to form any sort of meaningful bond. And it looks up at you with its crackling blue eyes in its now old graying muzzled face and licks your palm.
Hey, buddy. How are you feeling today? Do you feel any giants coming around?
When you say giants, its ears do come forward and like and sort of headbutts you a little bit.
I was doing this over here, but that looks weird that way. Oh.
And as you are standing there sharing this moment, you do hear a rumble come from deep in Karam's chest. You know, he warns you when there's danger about, but you all have been through enough that his rumble is low and subtle, more felt than heard, because the bark at the wrong time might bring any number of foes crashing down upon you, but he lets you know someone is about.
He's very sneaky. Do I have a inclination where this might be?
He does very slowly rotate his head as he's looking, and you've come to realize not only is Karam smarter than any hound you've ever known, he's smarter than a good deal of the men you've known as well. If he's growling and looking, there is something there, but at least initially, I will ask you, Aiden, presenting yourself to a man of the gentry, would you present yourself openly or would you be sneaky?
Oh, if I'd visited him in the interim in any of the many years since I last saw the man, I might sneak up on him. Seems like a fun kind of thing.
Then
But no. For all I know, he'd have me killed. They're so distrustful, the nobles. They always think that you're going to kill them just because, sometimes you do.
Well,
then let us split the difference, Aiden, as you make your way carefully up the path, wondering if you will tackle your old friend for good time's sake. You also hear the rumble of a large dog and realize that your presence was given away even before you had the opportunity to conceal it.
I turn around slowly for dramatic effect.
The wind blows at a dramatically appropriate moment, sending your cloak billowing. And you do see a face that you have not seen for many years. When last you saw Aiden, he was a scrawny, pale thing. The man before you is well-fed but lithe, dressed head to tail in finery, except this time you swear you can make out a faintly gleaming symbol on his head.
I immediately forget my place and rush and give a loving embrace to Aiden. And then remember, and I'm like, oh, Aiden!
Karen very much as you run over her and hug him.
I quickly regain my composure again. Aiden, what brings you here?
Lordship.
You know you don't have to do that.
But I want to.
All right. You know how it makes me feel.
Exactly. You can invite me in.
Yes, of course. Do you need anything? Refreshments? Small cinnamon buns?
What?
You know I love those.
What do the Duke's lands look like here in Norland?
They're the southern part of Norland and obviously Summersdale. It is on the coast, so it's a coastal kind of region. There's a lot of farmland, but there's the mountains to the north. And I mean, it's nothing too extravagant, but it's a pretty well established city for sure. He doesn't live in like an elegant castle, but it does have armaments. It's like a fortress of sorts to keep the scary things away.
How
will
hard
say-
would it be to rob just if someone were looking for an eye to case it? Not that we're doing that, just so I understand the scenery I'm looking at.
How
you know,
hard?
I'm gonna give you two opposed rolls. I'm gonna give Aiden give me sleight of hand, and Xander, I'm trying to give you one that is to your
Like, please,
to your
get this
credit.
on.
Believe it or not, give me athletics simply because it's going to be something you're good at, even though we're gonna let fate decide.
Okay. Should I tell you what I got already, or should I wait?
And so, well, do both of you have your numbers?
I do now. Yes. Hang on, math. Yes, now I have.
Yes, you first, Xander.
I have a 31, so please destroy me.
Aiden.
32.
Aiden,
Respect.
you realized this would not be easy to rob at all. You feel like it would be far in excess of the efforts and costs to come here to take at least the overt things that you can see. I will say also, you can see that a keen tactical mind has made use of both the land and the resources to array the defenses all around this place. You do notice a number of the defenses are oversized. Like, there's not just posts, they're big posts driven into the ground and things, especially pointing in the direction of the mountains. With 32, even though it was sleight of hand and not perception, I still would say gigantic posts facing the mountains. He defends against giants.
It's an astute observation.
Oh. You never invited me over to your place before, but I like what you've done with it.
Well, you know, you were always interested in stealing things, and I was more interested in protecting things, so
I would
Clearly we
never.
hate it.
Xander.
So why are you here?
What if things had been different?
Like what?
When we were boys, like running through the woods.
Yes, I remember.
What if it was different? Once.
You know, my father did not look kindly on those types of things, and I am.
Not that. Things really might have gone a different way. Xander, magically, might have gone a different way. Like fate.
Okay. What do you mean?
I think they did.
Like,
I'm gonna put the holy symbol on the table.
do I know what that is?
When you look at it, Xander, it definitely is the same mark that what is on his head. It looks like a burned, broken piece of jewelry. Give me,
To pick it up.
and I realize this may not be your strength, but let us find out. You can give me either insight or perception.
All right.
Can I assist for advantage?
No.
Well, I got an 8.
But to say a word I rarely say in these you know, very much am usually yes and, but it's nice. Xander, it does seem like it is very much in the style of that little village in Norland. You know, there was the community of people that worshipped the Celestials. You came across them on occasion out hunting. You know, they were fine people, I suppose, if you into that sort of thing. This to you, it's just squiggles and symbols, but doesn't mean anything.
So you're saying that this amulet changed things for us?
Yes. No, yes. It belonged to a woman we both knew. And we don't know now. There was a woman as close to us as you were to me then.
You're not making. If this is one of your games, Aiden, I don't have time for that. I have things I need to take care of.
I wouldn't come to you like this if it weren't serious.
All right. So, are you suggesting we find this woman we know in a different life?
Yes. And the other ones, the people we were with then. I don't know where all of them are now. I only knew where you were. So I came to you.
When you say that, Karam noses at your hand, holding the amulet. And just sort of whines a little and complains like he's trying to show you something, but he's just standing right there and sort of like noses it again.
I'm just like, what is it, boy?
He gets it.
Are you saying we should do this, Karam?
You see, he sort of like hops slightly in place like a dog excited to go for a walk. And Aiden, you see, he's probably 200 pounds. I mean, he's a large dog, which I would say you've had an eventful life, Aiden. You know a displacer beast when you see one. You're like, that is not a Great Dane. That is actually a monster. He sort of turns and wheels on his heels a little and vanishes and is about 20 feet away and sort of like paces back and forth a little and vanishes and is 20 feet away again and then vanishes and is behind Xander and still sort of like noses him in the butt and then noses his head under the medallion.
Well, he certainly thinks we should go.
Who are we to argue with a word of dog? Right?
Mlerp. Just right up the face, Aiden. Tongue long enough to pull you up onto your tiptoes. Just mlerp.
I don't understand this, and I don't know why, but I feel like something inside is forcing me to go along with this. I will humor you, Aiden. If this is one of your games.
If it were one of my games, we could skip to the end.
I do have my chambers free.
Well, I just set sail for quite a while, and I'm sure you have one or two affairs to get in order as the Duke of Summersdale.
Yes. Why don't you stay in my chambers, and my wonderful servants will take care of anything you need, and in a few hours I will be back here to move on with our adventure. Sigmund, I'd like to call my guard Sigmund. Sigmund!
No. And you see he like very much comes running over carrying his shield and halberd as is his way, and Karam immediately whips around and he just like freezes and he's like, the beast is loosed again, sir.
Yes, I understand. He's fine. No sudden movements, of course. Can you grab Roy and take care of the rest of the assignments that we have to get completed today? There are a few nobles and dignitaries that are coming over in the next week or so. I assume that you and Roy can take care of this?
It shall be done. All glory to House Kendrick.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. And then I I dismiss. You're dismissed, Sigma. Please.
He like very warily backs away, making a point not to make eye contact with Karam, who is like very much like.
Oh, yeah.
As he sort of like walks backwards.
I let
and
Cam
then-
do whatever he wants. Cam be free.
Yeah,
That's why we respect each other. That's where the love comes from.
that's where it works. That's why it works. That's why it works. Yeah, you could kill me if you felt like it. I could kill you if I felt like it. So we choose this.
It'll be a legendary battle, regardless.
And as Karam and Xander thrive on their mutually respectful relationship, I'll put an arm around Xander and whisk him away into his own castle to disrespect him.
Fade to black. Important. Meanwhile, far away on the Isle of Gwyneth, clergy walk along a beautiful flowery path of high branching trees that have been gently and lovingly brought over to weave together to form a nice walkway for you all. Who do we find there?
You see Karin and Karen walking along. They each have high-colored robes in a heavy brocaded fabric. Their arms are folded together beneath their sleeves, and they are just sort of serenely having conversation with each other while also ministering to the needs of their people.
As you all are moving along through the woods that you call home here on the island of Gwyneth, you hear a faint rustling in the trees nearby as you're walking by.
Do you hear that, Karen? I did, Karin. Don't suppose it's anything we should take a look at? Well, don't see why not. Shall we? I guess so. They're going to go take a look at whatever it is.
As you get a little closer, you hear a voice coming from in the woods saying, "No, no, 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 better to keep to myself. I'm gonna sound like a fool, I will, and then nobody's gonna let me come back to me home. Nobody's gonna take me seriously. It's just none of these acts of God. I just got to accept me lot in life. Understand, I got a nice place going here, but I can go to the Shadowfell on occasion."
Can we help you?
Oh, and he very much like turns and averts his eyes and puts his head down. It is a boggin, which a small, brown, quite frankly, ugly thing. One of the forest folk that usually don't interact with the fair folk such as yourselves. And he very much kind of spits and sputters as he's looking down at the ground. And he's like, "Oh,
You seem to be troubled. Isn't there anything we could do for you?
how might I properly address you both?"
No, we are Karen, and well, we are clergy, kind of in charge of this place. Whatever you want to say.
I'm
And you are? There's no need to be afraid.
my name's Deeproot. I'm from the Feywild. On occasion I make my way up here to this side of things, and can I tell you something without it unsettling? I want to be respectful of your wisdom and your power and your beauty, clerics.
Nonsense. We've seen many things and experienced many more. Nothing you can say will shock us. Please go ahead.
You know, you all been to the Feywild, right? You know, it's things are different over there, and then the sleeping and the magic, and I've been having these dreams. and then they don't make sense. I seen a man with a star on his head, and I seen a great scarred knight, and I seen a ghost with multiple faces that skulks through the shadows, and I seen an angel wrapped in chains, but the only thing I seen clearly is you two. I seen your faces, and then in this spot, that's why I've just kind of made my way up here to wander around till I saw the stump from my dream, and I sat on it thinking, well, of course, there's got to be lots of stumps in this world. There's no way. And then you came around the corner here.
You mean to tell us that you have seen us in some sort of vision? Is that what you mean to say?
I don't mean to say that I got any form of power or prophecy. Yeah, I make my offerings to the Raven Queen same as any, but on occasion I found I have had the odd dream that meant something, and I just felt like, does a disappearing dog make sense to either of you? A great beast.
Does it make any sense to us?
Give me an insight check, which you can roll with advantage to simulate your two heads combined.
That would be goodness gracious, a 29.
Some years ago, there was a litter of displacer beasts, blink dogs, sorry, not displacer beasts. That's a very different creature. There was a litter of blink dog pups. Their mom had been killed by hunters, and your father had ordered the pups put to death as well, and the two of you cried and begged until your grandmother intervened to save the life of just one of them under the auspices that they would send it as a gift over to House Kendrick, both to get this abominable beast out of your domain, and also to give a backhanded compliment to those haughty, pompous humans, and maybe if things went well in the fullness of time, the beast would eat one of them. But that was some years ago. Last you heard, maybe one of the cousins, some minor lord, a duke perhaps, had taken ownership of the beast.
You're speaking of a blink dog, I believe. We have some knowledge, or at least memory of one, but that was quite some time ago. And who did that end up with? Oh, goodness. We talked to so many of them on occasion, I've completely forgotten. Anyways, the dog ended up in Norwold. In Summersdall. Yes, that's right, Summersdall. With
Summersdall, la-dee-da, doesn't that sound fancy? Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's fancy for human territory. Don't be rude, Karin. You know how I feel about humans. Well, you don't have to be so, out loud about it.
Oh, well, they are the worst, if you don't mind me speaking out of turn. It just, and he does just like spit on the ground. cutting down trees and bulldozing forests and building these settlements out of the wood posts, like taking our homes and turning them into weapons against us. As far as I'm concerned, the Raven Queen can take the lot of them, but you did not ask me. I forget myself. I'm
It's all
sorry.
right. So, you had a dream. It involves a blink dog. It involves us. You mentioned a few other people. I'm afraid we're not quite sure what it is you're trying to tell us.
Oh, neither am I. Neither am I. I just wanted to just say what it is that I say. And one other thing.
Hmm.
Uh, I hope you both know I would not lie to you. I might be a fool, but I'm not a liar.
Well, for now, we don't have any reason to believe that you might be lying.
All right.
Though you are from the Feywild.
It's well, that we might be tricksters don't make us liars. Yeah. I was in me hovel. Nice, quaint, roots of an oak tree. Spacious though. I got a warthog mate of mine, and we make it work. And I woke up in under the leaves that I'd piled up to lay me head on. When I woke up from this dream, I had something. It was this. And he pulls out a strange metal coin. Ain't no way it found its way under the roots of them trees, and neither of us brought it there, so.
Karen will reach out for the coin. May I?
Oh, yeah. Where I come from, they don't spin too well.
What happens when we take the coin? Do
It-
we notice anything particularly distinct about it?
It does resonate with a faint amount of magic. It is very worn and old, and there are holes drilled into the edges of it, like it could be hung on something.
Hmm.
It is difficult to make out the impression of it.
Doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before. What do you think, Karen? No, Karen, indeed. It doesn't, very strange makeup, though. What on earth do you suppose it's for? Perhaps a decoration of some kind? Perhaps. But for what, and why would you need that many holes? Well, that's the question. Thank you, Deeproot, for this, though must confess we don't know what it means.
I must confess I don't either, but I must admit we've already gotten further than me dreams ever went, so I'm at a loss. So if it please you, I suppose I'll just make my way back to the Feywild and let's begging
you
your
hungry?
pardons. Oh, I'm always hungry. Yeah.
Well, if there's anything about that you find you're wanting, you can make yourself at home.
He kind of like takes his little hat off and kind of like twists it up a little bit, and he's like, "Well, I appreciate your generosity. I perhaps might find a bit of fruit or a corn cob to take back to me warthog mate. You do know, and this is not something that we usually reveal, but you all are you." We do still have a functioning circle on the Isle of Norland.
And, oh, interesting. A bit of fast travel, you mean?
Of course, wouldn't mean to tell you all how to maintain your affairs, but yeah, if there's but we would ask that perhaps you obfuscate your means of travel, because if they knew we was capable of getting inside their walls whenever we want, it might one of those bells you can only ring once, you know.
Fair enough. It has been some time since we left Gwyneth. What do you think, Karen? Well, whatever this is could possibly be a threat to Gwyneth, so I feel we are obligated to protect our people and see what is happening with our dog. Not our dog anymore. Never was. Fine, their dog. Thank you, Deeproot. And please take more than one cob of corn. Take several.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. That's mighty kind of you. If you wish to travel, once your affairs are in order, you just come right back here to this spot, and I'll guide you through.
Okay. We'll be back shortly.
You know, as you all are thinking, as you walk back and you sort of tumble around, the name of that dog, it was Karam, like a sword.
Karen. Between the two of us and Karen, who knows what the mess we're going to walk into. Karen. Yep, that's not going to be confusing at all.
Made a lot more sense when you were just children.
Yes, it did.
Is there anything in particular that the twins do to set their affairs in order, or anything mystical they do before they set about their trip?
I think they want to do a scry.
What would you like to scry?
They would like to scry, well, obviously the dog, because that would be the thing that they would scry. I mean, they don't really know. Like, they think they know who the dog belongs to, but our relationship being purely professional, they would feel a little bit weird scrying on them. Mostly because, like, we don't want to catch him, in a delicate position.
Is you scry Karam? The dog seems confused. You think it's watching a wrestling match? Or, oh, that isn't a wrestling match.
Oh my, we try to, okay. Humans are so disgusting. They really are. I mean, but as far as humans go, he's not that bad. Speak for yourself.
Once you sort of can tastefully avert your gaze from the superior
makes sense.
positioning that is
Ugh.
taking place,
Revolting.
it is definitely unique and engages techniques that neither of you had considered before, but we'll definitely have to meditate on later. You do notice outside the walls of a city on the coast that you can tell is a southern orientation based on how the sun hangs in the sky. And although you all have not been to Norland in some time, it is keeping with their bland human architecture of stones and dead things cobbled together and crude approximations of shelter. Very, very different from the luscious, integrated natural architecture in which you all live.
Don't suppose we should tell Father that we're leaving, do you? Oh, I don't even think I thought about that. Your hesitation is all the answer I need. Let's go.
As you all are
Sarah just scribbles a quick note, kind of stuffs it under like a candlestick or something like that. It's just like peace.
just on the off chance we die, kill all the
Yep.
humans. Like if we don't come
we don't
back,
hate
war.
that, but, I mean,
I will say is you all are making your way out. You do hear the young acolytes in the gardens, a couple of them idly humming the same tunes that your grandmother taught you when you were young ones. And as you return to that clearing, you see Deeproot standing there, his pockets basically full to bursting with carrots and corn cobs and apples. There is an entire like cabbage sticking out of it. And he is sitting there happily munching on an orange, peel and all. And he's like, oh, what manner of thing is this? We don't have this in the Feywild.
it's an orange, and you're welcome to come back and get more anytime you like.
What a delightfully accurate name for a thing. But which was it first? Is it orange because it's orange, or is it orange because it's orange?
You got me. That's not something we've read in our history books. We should do some research.
If you don't mind me saying, this side of things, this plane, normally it's kind of cold and boring, and if I don't, not to offend, rather dull and stupid. But this, all of this, and you, this is lovely, lovely, lovely.
We work for it.
Well, if I might escort you, just remember, stay close, as you know. Things aren't always as they seem in the Feywild. Left ain't always left. Down ain't always down. Blah, 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 blah. And when I lead you to the circle, simply step in it, visualize your intent, and you will go. And he does take you deeper and deeper and deeper into the forest until a familiar tingling starts to take over both of your skin as the horizon seems a little further away and the ocean seems a little further removed and the trees a little taller and the shadows a little deeper as you realize you were crossing over that threshold into another plane. Meanwhile, back on Norland, when you collect yourself enough to notice, Karam is no longer looking at you all, but is very much in one of the windows, not the main window, sort of like in a side one, standing on his hind legs. He's over 6 foot, looking at a window, sort of staring down towards the town with his tail wagging.
Is your beast all right?
I'm gonna go check actually. Karam, what are you looking at there? I just kind of run over to the window and see what he's seeing.
He turns and looks at you as you're approaching and vanishes. And you see him on the other side of the wall running happily towards the town and very much stops and looks back at you and then takes off and runs further towards the town.
Aiden, just wait here 1 second. I'll be right back.
No.
Put a robe on, a light peck on the cheek, and then run out.
Mhm. Karin and Karen, you all step out of the Feywild into a dark and earthy place. You look down and there's hay strewn about a stone floor, and the dull eyes of an old mare sort of looks up at you from a stall as she slowly crunches a mouthful of oats.
What a magnificent creature. I've forgotten how bad it smells out here. Well, not every place can be Gwyneth, and not everyone can be you. Not everyone can be you either, Karen. Wait, do you? Do you hear that?
Yes, something is approaching.
I do believe I do. Want to go say hi? Let's go say hi.
Your nose is met with the salt of the sea. This is right on the coast. I mean, Gwyneth is an island also. You all spend your fair share of time on the coast, but here, no, the water's right there. Like you're not completely you're not completely sure if during some times of the year the water might actually rise enough to at least cover this very building in a couple of inches of water at least. And you smell the cooking meat of the humans in their baking bread, which isn't so terrible, but the assorted sweat and stink that just barrages you when you're around these people. And you do hear a bit of a calamitous noise as people are sort of like yelping, not completely with terror, but more surprise. Like, oh, the beast. And kind of across the courtyard, you see a large form run into view, turn back and look behind it, and then vanish and appear right in front of you.
Karam! And they both like immediately just kind of go to Karam and begin to like all of their manners just completely forgotten. There is dog, and so they are now scritching dog. There still seems to be like an elegance to the way that they do this. Like it would be unseemly if they were at home, but here they probably look very ethereal as they do this.
They are very noble scritches. He
good dog. Hello.
You notice, like, again, you notice he doesn't lick you. It's almost like he's aware of what isn't polite. But as he like nuzzles and turns side on, then vanishes and is behind you and nuzzles and then vanishes again and is nuzzling. Xander, you kind of follow along the path, which Karam doesn't leave so much as a trail, but all the people that like dropped what they were doing, spilled drinks and bumped over tables, getting out of his way, form a very easy path.
The cabbage. Yeah.
My cabbage is. And as you come to the courtyard, you turn and look and you see two very regal yet oddly identical elves. Happy, and you see Karam make this grand display of loving and nuzzling in a way that you've never seen him do to anyone other than you.
I know exactly who they are. I quickly run down there and realize I'm in a robe. Karam.
The two twins bow.
You notice as you all stand up and get like completely regal, Karen's like rapid like tail wagging, like slows, like, oh, we're doing this thing. Oh, this is the thing. Oh, okay. And he audibly kind of goes and disappears.
Duke Xander.
What was that?
Duke Xander.
What brings you two here to our lovely plot of land?
Karam did.
Okay. In what manner?
We should speak of this somewhere more private. Yes, I think that would actually be more seemly, especially as you appear to not be.
Well, is them some elves? We ain't seen no ship drop anchor out here. Was it? Hey, oi! What's this in?
Is this Sigmund?
No, this you just see like a nearby building, just kind of like the windows open, and there's like an old man with a pipe leaned out staring.
Ugh. It's old man Joe. Go back inside, old man Joe. Don't mind.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, no, never mind. The Duke has it in hand. Yeah, just careful, elves. He's a fearsome warrior, the Duke is. And the windows shut, but immediately crack open.
I tighten my
Absolutely
robe
not.
to not appear weak. Yes, somewhere private would be fantastic. My chambers are being cleaned currently. Let go to the throne room. I take them there.
Meanwhile, Aiden, as you are luxuriating in the tangled mass of covers and blankets, Kieran appears and clamps his mouth down on your foot. Not painfully, but it is very much like you were caught in a very damp vice. And begins immediately throwing it backwards, pulling you off the bed.
Hey, excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Are we getting
And
up now?
he does that stamp thing again and vanishes.
Where are you off to? Gods help me, I'm actually curious. I'm going to throw some clothes on. I'm going to just ostentatiously steal a necklace and put it on me. Like, I'll just have a couple things from his room visible.
Just the long shirt, no pants, and a rapier type deal as you come out.
I mean, and a golden sigil of his house around my neck. Sure, why not? Yeah.
As you sort of make your way out, have looking at the help, like, hey, all right, yes, you might want to clean that up in there. Yeah, let it air out. You come around the corner, and it is like a thunderbolt hits you, Aiden. It's them. That's who you saw. Their clothes are different, their hair is different, but that is them.
Is something the matter?
I would say, did we notice Aiden come in?
Well, he very much comes around the corner and just jaw drops.
Your friend seems to.
How did you get here?
Do we know you?
Yes. Have you met Karen and Karen, Aiden? This is Aiden.
Oh, we've seen him.
Have you?
Did you get the visions too?
Oh, we got a vision, all right.
Xander?
Of okay. So what visions are you talking about, Karen?
Full story. We were intercepted in the woods by a boggin who claimed to have been having dreams. He described a few things that we didn't quite understand, but mentioned a dog that could blink in and out of existence. The only memory that we had of such a dog was the one that we sent here to Norland as a gift. We had hoped it had eaten one of you. Did we say that out loud? Ooh, we did. In any case, we decided to scry on the dog to determine its location, and anyways,
you know how we feel about that.
We
scrying.
That's why we scryed on the dog. It's not our fault the dog happened to be in a room with the two of you.
When you say that, one of the servants drops the glass he was carrying, and another one goes.
We were discussing important matters. Please continue your duties. Pick that up.
Yes, my lord. Sorry, my lord. Like very much scurries out of the room.
I put my hand in around Xander's rib pocket. Aiden has no shame. This is the amount of shame that Aiden has.
I quickly do that. I unarm.
You disarm me?
I disarm you. And fondle the little necklace for a second, and that's about it. With that,
we did try to be respectful. We apologize for the invasion of your privacy.
Look, that's not what's important. The important thing is that it brought you here.
I'm sorry.
You recognize this? And I'll hold up a symbol.
Put a pin in whether or not they recognize it, because somewhere far, far from here, well, it's an archipelago. It's only so far, but far from here, on the island of Snowden, a very, very different meeting is taking place as the ruler of the island, Lady Eliza Darizian. I think I'm going to go with Darizian because I could do that. This is what happens when you read something you've never heard. Has summoned one of her most trusted agents to meet with her in her quarters just after sundown. What does this trusted agent look like?
Kind of unassuming, actually. He looks human. He's one of the folk. He has sort of shaggy sort of auburn hair. A little bit of a trace of a mustache and goatee. Sort of stern features, but in some ways kind of forgettable. And he's wearing sort of loose clothing that looks like something that like a fisherman would probably wear, like a sort of draped, overlapped tunic. It's in a deep oxblood color. Yeah.
As you make your way through one of the passages that the common folk don't know about into this chamber, you see Lady Eliza walks into the room wearing a white satin robe bordering on gossamer in its shimmeringness that clings very much to every curve and would be scandalous in common settings. And she walks into the room idly rubbing her lip. And give me a perception check, sir.
That is a natural 20 for a total of 34.
As you know, there's only one house rule we play with, that a 1 always fails and a 20 always succeeds, even on skill checks. So this place is a number of things become completely apparent to you about this study. You realize this hidden passage that you've just come through is one of several. You also see there is a table that is got a silver basin bowl right in the middle of it. And as Lady Eliza walks into the room carrying this silver pitcher, she pours it out, and what is in it is not water, that is blood. And in the far room, the next room over, what was probably meant to be carefully concealed, you definitely see an upturned palm of someone laying on the ground. With that high of a perception, I will say you can even make out that the vein on the wrist is not moving, because 30 is impossible success, dear viewer, and that is 34. So it is almost like radar has extended. So much so, I will say with that much, is there anything in particular you would like to know about this room? Because you have immediately taken in the soul of it.
Are there any guards or like security features, like traps or wards of any sort? What's the lay of the land security wise for this area?
You can hear 2 people breathing on the other side of the door. You can hear her captain of the guard, a massive woman that everybody just simply knows as the maiden. If she goes by anything other than that, she hasn't said, and no one ever really thinks to ask too much about it. You also know Lady Eliza is rumored to be a sorcerer of some power in her own right, although you yourself have never really seen her completely raise her hand. There does not appear to be anyone else in this room with you besides her and that unfortunate young woman in the next room as you study more and more of her small hand laying there. You also notice that although Lady Eliza is completely aware of both who you are and what you do, you get absolutely no hint of fear off of her. And there is something else you notice about her that you realize you'll need to file away for later.
Right.
She- Mhm.
I want to reach into my robes and I pull out a carved dragon mask that I fit over my face. It looks like a sort of red lacquered mask, and then I pull up my my hood to cover the rest of my my head.
Through the wonders of technology, I'm actually able to send you what it is that you notice about her, which is a rumor that you'd heard that now it's like, oh,
Gotcha. Is there a waiting area that I'm supposed to be in, or is this it?
Oh no, my shadowy champion. This is precisely where you are meant to be because we are quite done waiting. And she begins to pour the blood out of the pitcher into this basin. And she says,
Oh, I'm trying to stay on the wagon when it comes to that sort of thing. But by all means, indulge, Mom.
you see, she licks her finger and she says, why would you want to abstain from magic, from power? And she starts to stir it. Come closer.
Well, when you put it that way.
She's like, are you afraid? You think I'm going to bite you?
I mean, it had run through my mind. It's true. But I mean, we have a business relationship, and why would we want to sully that with such
She
trifles?
lifts her finger and looks at the blood on it and picks up a white silk handkerchief, which you realize, Rayonde, probably this one handkerchief costs more than a commoner is going to make this whole entire year. And she wipes it, just like idly throws it over her shoulder like it's disposable now. And she walks over towards you and she says, do you know how many kings and lords and noblemen across so many countries of this world would kill or die for my favor, much less my hand?
I mean, I did not know that literally, but I had inferred it. You're quite impressive, it's true.
Look. And she does, like, smiles and like motions at the basin. Look.
So yeah, I look over. What do I see? Is just a blood
swirling red mass. That is you suspected before, but as you've gotten your muzzle over it, you've killed enough people. You know that coppery taste that sort of sticks to the roof of your mouth. That's blood.
I fear it's wasted on me. I'm not a connoisseur.
My dear Shadow, you do have a great many uses, many of which I have still yet to properly explore and utilize, but it appears divination is not one of them. We have an opportunity, you and I. I have seen something.
In there.
I have seen you. I have seen you fighting. I have seen you being trusted. I've seen you as a hero. I know none of those things are true. However, I have seen there is a moment in which our enemies in Norland, in Gwyneth, in the guilds, will all lower their defenses and let you in. And when they let you in, she reaches out and puts her hand on your chest. They let me in. Think of what we could accomplish, Ryande.
I mean, that sounds great. Could we maybe speak about how I'm going to be compensated in more concrete terms? I'm sorry, I'm not enlightened like you. I live a simple life. I have a lot of expenses.
You negotiate like a common sellsword, let you live like this austere, holy man. You have such a cavalier relationship with life and death, and yet you still fret and mope over coin?
I mean, I haven't found anything else to really care about that much, but I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll change now that we're in some sort of pact business.
You served me well in the acquisition of our newest guest. I recommend you keep your actual involvement with that somewhat to yourself, or you might find your reception to be chillier than it would be otherwise.
I kind of see my night job as being almost like a distinct person. So I really don't talk about it with anyone. This may feel alarming to you, but I actually don't have any friends. So.
Oh, but you do. You have me. Great days lay ahead for us, my shadow. I will require you to go on a bit of a diplomatic mission for me. And the door swings open, and standing right there by the door is a still very young, shivering boy who you have seen before, Ryande. And he walks in with 2 bags of platinum coins and puts them down on the table. You know the clink of platinum even before you open the bag. You're like... And she looks down at him and she says, "Oh, well, what do we say?" And he looks up and says, hello, my lord.
I'm sorry, we don't know each other, son. But it's nice to make your acquaintance.
Yes, sir. Might I be allowed to go?
Well, that's up to the chief here. And I pour it over to her.
And she says, she rubs her hand across his head and says, "Oh, Warren, my dear boy, of course you can have anything that you like." And she gets down in his face and she's like, "Would you like sweeties? Would you like to go on a horse ride? Would you like a new puppy, perhaps?" And he's like, "No, ma'am. I don't require any of that. I just if I could just make a request, maybe go fishing tomorrow. You know, it's best at dawn." Oh, Warren, I'm afraid dawn fishing is quite out. That's when our enemies are at their greatest strength, although perhaps a nice night sail. I'm sure there is wonderful catches to be had deep sea fishing by the moonlight. Yes, Ryande?
Oh, certainly. That's the best time.
how about I have the maiden conscript one of our local fishing vessels to take you out? Yeah, yes, Mum. That would be lovely, Mum. And she says, and I shall send my personal destroyer to sail with you so that you know you will be safe and sound. The Kraken itself could arise from the depths and no one will ever lay a hand on you. Yeah, yes, Mom. And he puts the coins down and she says, "You're growing up strong, Warren. You are turning into quite a young prince. I, I, I thank you for your tutelage in having me on as a ward, ma'am, and sir, who I haven't met, although that is a very smart mask." And she just looks at him and goes, and he does bow to you both and turns and leaves, and the door slams. And she turns and looks after he goes and says, "That boy is an important piece on the board, and you are going to help me gather more." Count your coins, and I will tell you what is going to happen next. Meanwhile, back in Norland, Aiden has held up this magical item to look at. This burned, broken medallion. How would you all like to inspect it, Karin and Karen? You all have access to a number of capabilities.
Yes, I think we will start with a simple arcana, like to determine like what kind of magical properties this might have had, if it does still have any.
All right, go ahead and roll it for me.
It's cocked. There we go. That would be a 29.
Is you are looking at this. It is a sacred symbol to the Celestials, which are divinities, but they're not as personified as some. They're far more conceptual, although some of them have names for those of them, those that are deeply penitent to the faith. For the most part, they are kind of a chorus. They're just the Celestials. Their faith is quite different from yours in the thing that you and your sibling put your effort into and prize. However, you do know there is at least a small contingent of them on Norland. You think you've heard of, but a village, maybe 50 people. A few years back, when Hundar attacked Mintarn, he flew over Norland and breathed his fire breath, but word was they were largely unharmed, lost some farmland, maybe some structures, but for the most part, they'd rebuilt and largely keep to themselves. This particular piece is old. It is difficult to, date metal, but it definitely is of a style that is nothing about this says modern. And that is what you would get with Arcana. Some other things may reveal other information as well.
Could we spend some time doing casting Identify over this?
Absolutely.
So I think that Karin reaches out and gently takes the piece from Aiden, and the two of them sort of nod to the gentleman and then sort of wander to the other side of the throne room and kind of find a quiet place to sit down. And they join hands and begin to sort of chant quietly to themselves over the piece. And of course, as they do, like a white shining glaze over their eyes as they begin to perform. identify.
All right. While they are doing this, what are Aiden and Xander doing?
I am pushing Aiden back to my chambers. While they're going to take a while for that, I need to get changed, and you need some punishment to be enacted.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be you doing the punishment. Come on.
I'm very disappointed in you, Aiden. Come to my chambers. We'll have a very important discussion about this. And then I
Yes,
quickly...
lordship.
Yeah, I'm starting to like that. So we run into the chambers and do that stuff.
Yeah, we'll get
You-
changed, get geared up.
I'm gonna-
I
yeah.
keep the sigil, to be clear.
I'm going to get into not a robe and back into my clothes.
Yes, I disrobe him and then he gets clothed.
Yes, exactly. Aiden helps me throughout the process, as a good friend would.
As a good friend does.
Yeah.
So you knew them?
What was that?
The twins, Karen and Karin.
I didn't hear the first part that you said.
You knew them?
I mean, we have been through a few things together. They're allies of sorts. It's a bit of an interesting relationship. We help each other when we need, but elves tend to not exactly like the humans here. So
Why? Just because you're terrible?
I wouldn't say we're terrible. We do our best to protect our kind. It's not our fault that we get attacked from all sides.
Hey, it's not a criticism. I don't mind you being a little bad. Let's get back and see if they found out anything.
I agree.
With your identify spell, let me pull this up real quick. I am engaging in multimedia machinations to tell you exactly what you as one does. Okay, identify. I love that identify is first level. I'm just trying to figure exactly what this is going to tell you. When you touch this object, in fact, Aiden and Xander, is you are even making your way back, still kind of like playfully elbowing and adjusting collars. You hear both of the twins scream. You
Run.
two
Quickly run. Yeah.
focus. It's terrible. It's burning. It is sulfurous. It is abyssal. This thing should not be. It should not be on this plane. It should not exist.
Karin?
You okay?
Are you okay? I don't
This
touch
is
them.
impossible. This is impossible. This is impossible.
Easy,
Okay,
breathe.
Just
breathe.
calm down. What is impossible?
This object does not belong here. It comes from a different place, a different time. It's impossible.
It is. It's
Wait.
why we need your help.
Everything was burning. So many dead things. So much fire. So much pain.
Is this the same thing you saw, Aiden?
Yeah, I saw
Hey.
fire and pain.
Are you okay?
We need to find her. Your luck strips. We need to follow this down.
This
There's-
belongs to her. And Karen pulls out the coin.
I'd like to grab it, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I just take the coin.
Xander, give me an insight check.
23.
Oh, my boy. Look at
Finally.
you knowing things.
I know some
Eh,
kinks.
Xander,
Mm.
there's no way they should have this. It's in your village, back in your humble beginnings, before your family was re-embraced into House Kendrick. Because growing up, your grandmother told you were royalty, and nobody
Mm.
really believed her. And then as
Yeah.
you sort of made your way as a mercenary and as a sellsword and gained a bit of notoriety, you came on the radar of House Kendrick, who through a variety of mystical means proved that, oh, you were in fact a cousin and embraced. But back in your humble beginnings on Norland, in your village, you all would take very small bits of metal and press into them images as a form of local currency. Obviously, Faerun's got no approximation for a bottle cap, but it was essentially that. Just a local coin so that farmers could keep easy track of boons and deals that were made. Only someone who not only was from that area, but also from that time could have something like this. And you don't know why the little holes are drilled in it, though. That doesn't necessarily make any sense.
Where did you get this?
The Boggin gave it to us. He found it underneath the root of his tree.
Just this is a coin from my village.
That's
No one
curious.
makes these. So how did it find its way to you?
We don't know.
I think, Aiden, I think you have gotten your wish. I think magically we are being brought together.
Rayonde, how would you travel to get to Norland? Obviously, you have access to the ladies' fleet if you chose to take such a vessel, or would you travel by some other means?
I think we would take probably a very unassuming boat. I think a Warren would be in disguise, as would I, right? We're traveling together.
Oh, you would not take O'Warren back with you for this. No.
Oh, this is the fishing trip was not cover for this. Okay.
Oh no, she really was just gonna send the kid fishing if he wants. No, Warren is not getting outside of her reach. And as you are setting sail, she very much did as promised, sequestered or commandeered rather a local fishing vessel to take the boy out for a late night fishing expedition that was dwarfed by one of her enormous black destroyers sailing along behind it.
Yeah, I think Rayonde is, keeps to himself, but doesn't talk much. Is a lot like the other fishermen on the boat. He does a lot of rope coiling. Yeah, but yeah, he just heads out. He wouldn't even tell anybody that he's like an ambassador or a diplomat or any of that sort of stuff.
As you arrive, it is late. Having sailed in the moonlight up the coast to this area of Norland, to Summersdal, and you see the town is largely sleepy, but it is well defended. Even as you put into the slip, a couple of people sort of look up at you, but the fishing boat has all the trappings that they expect to recognize. And you do see a guard with a shield and a halberd that does stiffen somewhat when you come pulling in. Is there any other crew on your fishing vessel, or does this seem sort of like a one-man operation?
I mean, they're the other fisher folk, but they're not going to come. They're not
Right.
going to come with me. They're just dropping me off. I'm just acting like I got like a ride, like I hitchhiked, basically.
Is they do still sort of pull in for the slip, momentarily, and then the guard sort of approaches and is like, "Oh, hello, friend. You choosing to disembark here at Summersdale.
Yeah. I actually think I'm expected by is it Duke Xander, right? Xander, nailed it.
Well, give me either deception or persuasion. I guess the important thing is, does Rayonde believe he's expected? I'll let you decide which one it is.
I have a -1 in both of those, but I just rolled another natural 20.
Hey, it's almost like fate wants you all brought together. He looks, he's like, oh, well, yeah, we've had a number of unusual visitors today. I guess what's one more? Might I escort you to our lordship's quarters?
Yeah. That's exactly where I needed to go. You are very good at your job.
Thank you, sir. To be clear, are you currently in your nondescript man phase, or are you wearing the mask?
I'm not wearing the mask. No, my hood is down, and you can see I have what looks kind of like a leather headband, but it has like a metal plate in the center of it. It's kind of looks like sort of a very utilitarian sort of forehead protector.
You see, an old man leans out of a second-story window and goes, "He don't look like any kind of fisherman I seen. He don't. Look at him. He's a sellsword if I ever seen one."
Can't get one past you. Yeah. I mean, as an envoy of Lady Eliza, but I just, we're not supposed to flash our weapons around or do any of that. So just treat me like I'm any other scrub from this place and we'll get along fine.
You see, when you say envoy of Lady Eliza, the guard very much stiffens and turns and looks back at you. And you get that scene from all the old West shows. It's windows closed and door all along this little plaza. And he's like, envoy of Lady Eliza to see the Duke.
Listen, mate, I've got to get this job done. My life is on the line. Do you know what it's like working for Lady Eliza? The rumors you've heard are, well, probably true, but so you know that I'm in great danger if I don't accomplish what I need to, which is to see the Duke.
He sort of shivers and looks over his shoulder like he's got a chill goes through him. And he's like, well, you seem like an honest sort then. Yeah, well, we should move along.
Yeah.
As you guys come, Karen, Karen, Xander, and Aiden, sitting around a table trying to, with this burned and broken medallion and this coin, just trying to compare notes about a mystery that truly doesn't make sense. You hear that rumble coming from Karm. Xander.
Oh, then I look towards the door and have my hand on the hilt of my sword.
With apologies, Lord. I've come to present an envoy to you from Lady Eliza Derizian, Viceroy of the Westfall. And Xander, as you turn and look at this man who walks into your hall, you realize he has come here in the name of your greatest enemy, and burning anger flashes in your heart. And that is the good place for us to stop.
There's going to be an epic fight.
Xander?
Well, we get to smolder at each other first.
And Rayonde are going to fight each other? This doesn't seem right.
Well,
True.
there may be guards involved.